killed at least 80 people at a Pakistani paramilitary academy. Among the dead were 65 recruits, all killed while getting into buses for a short leave after completing their course. The bomb attack is a grim reminder of the threat Pakistan faces, especially after the killing of bin Laden. But the chances of security cooperation between the United States and Pakistan appear to have been dented by the U.S. raid in Abbottabad. The United States did not inform Pakistan of the operation by U.S. Special Forces, and the discovery of bin Laden so close to the capital has sparked suspicions of Pakistani double-dealing.
Mobile phones and computers with wireless internet connections pose a risk to human health and should be banned from schools. That's according to a report by a Council of Europe committee which called for immediate action to protect children after it found evidence that the technologies have potentially harmful effects on humans. The Department of Health says it will review the report.
Still David Silva. Mario Balotelli wouldn't have for Tevez. He does for Touré! Manchester City's semi-final hero, Yaya Touré, gives them the lead in the final. The rise of Manchester City. One of the longest waits in football is over. Manchester City are winners again.
And Wayne Rooney will take the penalty for Manchester United. Massive pressure. Rooney scores it. Manchester United level with Blackburn Rovers. Everywhere you look, the number 19 features. Manchester United make history. Sir Alex Ferguson, now the greatest manager in the history of domestic league football. United crown kings of English football for a 19th time.
All right, it seems this administration will never learn its lesson. Tomorrow, Michelle Obama is set to host an evening of poetry and will welcome a slew of poets, musicians, students from all across the country to the White House. Among them is a controversial rapper and poet, Lonnie Rashid Lynn Jr., better known as Common. Now, he's a staunch supporter of the president and has a running list of controversial comments. 2007, during an HBO's Def Poetry appearance, Common called for the burning of President George W. Bush. Now, the poem reads, "Burn a bush 'cause for peace, he no push, no button, killing over oil and grease, no weapons of mass destruction. How can we follow a leader when this is a corrupt one?" Now, earlier today, former Alaska Governor Sarah Palin also weighed in on the controversy. She wrote on Twitter, "Oh, lovely White House."
This two-time Grammy-winning vegetarian's invite to the White House has the Twitterverse very upset. And by Twitterverse, I don't mean people on Twitter, I mean twits. Who took the time to ignore Common's entire body of work, save for one poem he wrote in 2007 that they appear to misunderstand. The more explicit lyrics describing violent action that Hannity was quoting, those lyrics actually end on the couplet, "No time for that, because there's things to be done. Stay true to what I do so the youth dream come." Basically, what Common appears to be saying is, hey, you know that violence I was talking about earlier in my poem? Let's end that in our communities so our dreams can come true. It's a call for peace.
The Lord lives among us. The youngest hunger becomes a means to get it by any ways necessary under pressure. Children feeling lesser with the still upon the dresser. Killer will aggressors, destiny's children, survivors, soldiers in front of buildings. They eyes look older. It's hard to see blessings in a violent culture. Face against weapons, sirens, holsters. That ain't the way that Langston Hughes wrote us. Soul controllers on the shoulders of Moses and Noah. We go from being precious to Oprah. Cultivated to overcome ever since we came over. Seize the day in a way that you can see to be determined. The solar keeps burning. Shorties know to keep learning. Lessons in our life are like stripes that we earning. I took Gramps' advice that Christ is returning like a thief in the night. I write for beacons of light. For those of us in dark alleys and parched valleys, street hits spark rallies of the conscious, conquerors of a contest that seems beyond us. Even through the unseen, I know that God watches. From one king's dream, he was able to barack us. One king's dream, he was able to barack us. One king's dream, he was able to barack us.
on lightningfm.co.uk. I'm Danny God, the infamous and the famous, in the studio right here with Brandy Lee, son of Sherry Groce, lady who was shot by police officers, they say accidentally, shot by police officers in 1985, September, which sparked the Brixton riots. Now, let's get into the actual incident, right? Where were you? What time? Where were you? I mean, take your time, but explain what happened on that day.
Okay. I was explaining to somebody the other day that anytime I think about this incident, I'm always 11 years old. So let's go there, yeah? All right. Right, all I know, it was the early hours of the morning, right? And the gunshot woke me up. So I just jumped up. I was in my mum's bed because we used to sleep in my mum's bed. At the time, it was my mum was in there, my dad was in there, I was in there. And I jumped up, and all I saw was my mum on the floor. Yeah. And I was hysterical. And I said, if you touch my mum again, I'm going to fucking kill you. I just remember saying that. And I was mad. And the policeman was still standing up there with the gun in his hand. And he turned to my dad and said, someone better shut him up.
Shut you up?
Shut me up. Because I'm mad and hysterical at the moment, and he's still got the gun in his hand.
Hold on a sec. So they've come in with a gun. They've shot a woman.
Yeah.
Right? And instead of being concerned about the woman that's shot or surprised or afraid or shocked, their sentiment was to shut you up. Someone better shut you up.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I just remember my mum lying there on the floor and saying, I can't feel my legs. So as I said, at that time I wasn't 100% sure that she got shot. All I saw was that she was on the floor and I saw this man with a gun in his hand. All I know is that there was some kind of contact. Yeah. Then, you know, they ushered us out the room, and the next thing I know, I saw my mum walk, going into the ambulance, like I explained to you. So they kept us in the house. All I remember, there was loads of police, loads of dogs, and there was one police woman in particular that was trying to console me at the time, you know. And I just remember I couldn't calm down about this situation. So, as I said, my mum went in the ambulance, she waved, and it kind of made me feel a little bit better. But then there was, I've never actually said this before, but there was report on the news that my mum had died. It was a false rumour, which I think as well sparked off the riots, because a lot of people had thought my mum had died. They didn't realise she was still alive. And I remember going into the kitchen and getting a knife, and I was going to slit my wrist at that particular time. And someone came and stopped me. Now, luckily it didn't happen, and luckily I found out that my mum was still alive. So, you know, that's what happened at the time. Just remember loads of police, loads of reporters outside the house, loads of noise. It just was hectic at the time. And then my gran came, picked us up, and we went back to my gran's house at the time. And, you know, in the sense of that particular day, that's my memories of the day.
Why did they come to your house?
They were looking for my brother, who they thought was armed at the time. And even though he never lived at our address, that's the address they came to.
Was your brother at the address at the time they came?
No, he wasn't.
And what was their explanation for letting off the shot?
their explanation at the time was that they saw, it was like a reaction, that they kicked the door in, they saw somebody and they just shot the first person they saw, basically.
Why did they come with guns? It's 1985. Guns weren't that common then. What was the whole reason for turning up at a family house with a gun?
Because to their knowledge, they assumed that he may be armed.
That's your brother?
That's my brother.
Right. So there's a black man in 1985, middle of racial tension, and they believe this black man had a gun.
That's right.
So there's a black man with a gun. We got to get our gun. That was the vibe you picked up that you can remember? That's what people felt at the time?
That's the vibe I picked up. That's what I felt at the time. If you ask me my personal feelings around what happened, they came to kill somebody that day, as far as I'm concerned. And unfortunately for them, they shot the wrong person, because I think if they actually shot my brother, if he was there that day and they shot him, then it would be like, okay, well, they got the man they were looking for. I don't think there would have been such a hoo-ha about it. Mm-hmm. But they're looking for a man and they shot a woman.
Yeah.
In a nightdress. So as far as, there's no mistake in that, as far as I'm concerned. However, they put it down to a mistake and a quick reaction.
It's good that you're doing the interview, and I'll tell you why. When I was researching to do this interview, I was looking on the internet, trying to find information about Sherry Groce, trying to find information about the Brixton riots of '85, trying to find film footage. Now, I know I've been told by my cameraman that there's film footage at the BBC, but just general film footage in comparison to some of the other stuff that has taken place in Britain, say the St Paul's riot or Tottenham riots or 81 riots. You can find a lot of stuff. You can find a lot of information. Even the Wikipedia page is quite extensive on those two riots. But there was very little, precious little. I found 2 YouTube clips and less than 1 A4 on Wikipedia. Less than 1 A4. When you print it out, it's less than 1 A4. And at the very top of it, if you know anything about Wikipedia, it says, this article has multiple issues, which effectively means that someone has disputed the facts in the article. All right? Less than a page, and at the top of the page it says has multiple issues. Please improve or discuss and blah, blah, blah. And I went through it, and it basically says that it shouldn't be called a race riot. It should be called the Brixton riot. That's the dispute. And the dispute is raised by a white guy called Lotar Rules? No, Smokey the Cat, which basically said he was a white guy at the riots, so we can't call it a race riot. That was the dispute. And then there are police officers in this discussion. Police Mad Jack and another policeman, I can't find his name. Police Mad Jack, and I think that's Lotar Rules, or the other policeman, that basically arguing back and forth with this gentleman that it shouldn't be called a race riot, it should be called Brixton riot. And the whole vibe I got from it was they were trying to whitewash it, try and have as little information as possible there so nobody knew about it. Now I've told you that, how do you feel that they're trying to erase your mum's experience? Your experience.
How do I feel about that? Disappointed, to say the least. I mean, one of the whole reasons of why I came to you about doing this tribute show for my mum was to keep it all alive, keep her legacy alive, let people remember what happened that day, and also to let people know that what she went through and what she was as a person. Because